Alright, Quest for Lost Heroes, which is book 3 of the Drenai Saga, picks up about 25 years after the events of the King Beyond the Gate. And, man, there's a lot happening in this one. Quick recap of the history. At the end of the King Beyond the Gate, well, if you haven't read the King Beyond the Gate and you're watching this review for the first time wondering what's happening in this book, I recommend you go back and read it and stop the video now. Continuing on. Basically, what happened after the end of the King Beyond the Gate is that eventually, after Seska was killed by Tanaka Khan, he rallied the Nadir up behind him and began reconquering the lands that Ulrich had once conquered, and did it in much less time than Ulrich. And this really made him a popular hero among the Nadir, and he eventually united them and made Drustelnak his castle, so to speak. Eventually, Tanaka Khan died under mysterious circumstances, and his son Jungir was crowned king. And unfortunately, in this time, it's become sort of a dark reign over them, as Jungir has basically turned over everything that his father has done. Tired of living in his shadow, and he wants to rule through a reign of terror instead of a reign of reason. Getting down to the starting point of the story, we're introduced to a boy named Kiel. He is a 19-year-old who admits himself to be a virgin, and he is completely naive of the world around him. Now, the village that he lives in has constantly been the victim of several raids by the Nadrin, which are offshoot of the Nadir, but still trade with them. They've been capturing women and selling them for slaves. And all too often, Kiel has been taught that he's supposed to look the other way. But instead, he decides to actually go and stand up against these guys. He doesn't stop the raid himself, but he goes and picks up an old sword master named Krios to help him go and reclaim Ravina, a woman that he has fallen in love with. It's an unrequited love in between him and Ravina, but he cares about her enough to want to go after them. Now, Krios is also a main character of the story, and he is a expert swordsmaster who has been shamed in front of the people because he was teaching swords classes, and the earl that was over his city has rigged up some charges against him for murder, all stemming from the fact that he turned the earl's son, or kicked him out of training because the dude was just a bully and wouldn't listen to him. Krios' background is that he is one of the heroes of Belazar. Basically, what that was, that when Tanaka Khan set out to capturing so many places, he was undefeated but had one scar against him, and that was Belazar, where Krios was gathered with about 3 other heroes, and eventually Tanaka sat and talked with them because they wouldn't surrender this fortress. And he let that victory for them right there because he respected them so much. Krios is trying to find himself right now. He became a priest, but then dropped that because he had fallen in love with a woman. And eventually his life went into turmoil, and he's trying to find himself in his old age. Eventually, he agrees to go help Kiel try and track down Ravina, and he gathers the old heroes that fought with him. We have Belzer the Axeman, who has become a depressed drunk. Basically, he just lives to drink, doesn't do anything, lives in an inn. And we have the 2 bowmen, Finn and McGrigg, who join them on the quest to retrieve this girl. It starts out as a simple enough quest, but there is something there that eventually Jungir Khan catches wind of the fact that they're after these abducted women, and what the mystery is eventually goes on to be an interesting thing. Now, unfortunately, there is a little foreshadowing in this book that these heroes of Belazar are the ghosts yet to be. We don't know entirely what that means, at least at the start of the story. Now, along the way as we go along, besides the few characters that we have, we are later introduced to Tanaka Khan's daughter named Tanaki, who is the head slave trader and eventually becomes a new love interest for Kial when he realizes that even though he does care about this girl, he realizes that the quest is futile and kind of falls in love with Tanaki over the course of the story when she eventually joins them. Jungir also has it out for Tanaki as well because he wants nobody left in the bloodline to be able to take the throne should something happen to him. And there's also a huge mystery there surrounding his father, and even Tanaka Khan himself shows up as a ghost in the story to try and help Kial to complete a task that would help him get revenge on the killer who committed regicide against him. All in all, when it gets down to it, it's a really great story. To me, there is no such thing as a bad Gemmell book, but while I do say that this is a great story, it is my least favorite of the Drenai Saga books. There aren't really plot holes in here because everything is tied up nicely, but unfortunately, it's still just by a stretch that things are happening. We get a lot of heavy introduction of magic in this. There are no joinings in this book, but there are a couple of spiritual battles on the astral plane. We get a huge introduction to a lot more of the magic, including the summoning of demons in this book. And let's see. Oh, we also have the return of a character from King Beyond the Gate. Asta Khan has come back in this book as well. And for the most part, it's just a great read. Now, I actually enjoy watching Kial grow from the young, naive hero, and he goes on to discover that in this story that the heroes of Belazar that he's hung out with are not the golden-haired, chivalrous men that he was always told about in childhood, and that kind of really struck out to me that this boy finds out the hard ways about life, but yet still manages to hold on to the virtues that were bestowed upon him as a child. I also enjoy Karios' growth over the course of this book as he goes on to find himself and as his friendship with Kial continues to grow. Belzer is hilarious to read about. Basically, he's, like I said, he's a fat slob, a drunkard, but he does have some decency about him, and this is the first time. There is the only time really that Gemmell has used homosexual characters in his book. Now, he doesn't come right out and say that Finn and McGregor are gay, but it's kind of hinted at in this book, and Kial kind of gets it when McGregor sits down and talks with him. And while that's not really addressed that much, I think Kial handles himself well in respecting that, and you know, I don't know, it was a good thing that he addressed that. Anything else I can say about this book? The battle sequences are just great. Gemmell keeps up this simplistic style, and we are. There was something else I was going to say. There was the style, and oh yeah, the ending of this book. The ending of this book is really anticlimactic. Basically, I'm not going to spoil what happens for anybody who's still stuck with this and has not read it. The battle sequences come down to like quite literally the last 20 pages of the book, where they're able to go and rescue the girl, as well as fight Jungir Khan at the end of the book. And how he's beaten really vexed me. I know it was Gemmell and there's a lot of magic in here, but it still kind of bugged me a little bit. Aside from this, however, it's still a great book. I highly recommend it. It's still my least favorite, but hey, it's pretty good. So if you want something to pick up after the first two books, definitely go and check this one out. Thanks for watching, and join me next time as we take a journey back in the Drenai timeline in Waylander. See you guys next time.